Hello. Uh, Welcome to another session of reading of the Western Philosophy 101. The book that we are reading today is called Sophie's World. If you're already following the channel, this is the 18th session that we are doing in terms of reading Sophie's World. And again, welcome to the Viswaprajna channel. In case you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Whoever is going to participate in the live as well as going to listen to this session later as well, basically. So we are at a very interesting point in the reading of this book. We've already covered some very outstanding, who are considered to be pillars of the Western philosophy in this day and age as well, like Descartes, Locke, uh, well, Spinoza, etc. Right. So today we are going to be covering Hume, basically. I'll also give the link here if anybody wants to come and join in the reading. Then more than welcome to do so. Basically, also try to pin it. Just give me 1 second till I get set up on this, and then we'll see what Mr. Hume has to tell us today. Right? It's quite fascinating reading this Western philosophy, getting introduced to these ideas and concepts and things like that. So I also pinned it, so that way the link is available for anybody who wants to come and join me in the fascinating exploration of Western Philosophy 101 in the form of the reading of Sophie's World by Jostein Gaarder. Okay. All right. Hume it is. Hume, committed then to the flames. That's the theme of the chapter. Alberto sat staring down at the table. He finally turned and looked out of the window. It's clouding over, said Sophie. Yes, it's muggy. Are you going to talk about Berkeley now? He was the next of the three British empresses. But as he is in a category of his own in many ways, we'll first concentrate on David Hume, who lived from 1711 to 1776. He stands out as the most important of the empresses. He is also significant as a person who set the great philosopher Immanuel Kant on the road to his philosophy. Wow, okay. Does it matter to you that I'm more interested in Berkeley's philosophy? That's of no importance, said Alberto. Hume grew up near Edinburgh in Scotland. His family wanted him to take up law, but he felt an insurmountable resistance to everything but philosophy and learning. He lived in the age of enlightenment at the same time as the great French thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau, and he traveled widely in Europe before returning to settle down in Edinburgh towards the end of his life. His main work, A Treatise of Human Nature, if anybody is interested, they can probably download a PDF and read it, was published when Hume was 28 years old. But he claimed that he got the idea for the book when he was only 15. All right. I see. I don't have any time to waste. You've already begun. So Sophie is relegated to listening about Hume. But if we are going to formulate my own philosophy, if I were going to formulate my own philosophy, it would be quite different from anything I have heard up to now. That's what Sophie said. Is there anything in particular that's missing? Well, to start with, all of the philosophers you have talked about are men, and men seem to live in a world of their own. I'm more interested in the real world, where there are flowers and animals and children that are born and grow up. Your philosophers are always talking about man and humans. And now, here is another treatise on human nature. It's as if this human, in quotes, is a middle aged man. I mean, life begins with pregnancy and birth, and I've heard nothing about diapers or crying babies so far, and hardly anything would love about love and friendship. What a wonderful question by Sophie. You're right, of course, but Hume was a philosopher who thought in a different way. More than any other philosopher, he took the everyday world as his starting point. I even think Hume had a strong feeling for the way children, the new citizens of the world, experienced life. So Hume probably was looking at it more from a child's perspective, right? Okay, so we have two people that have joined the panel. Tauji, welcome after a very long time. And Hiranya Kamalam Garu also welcome. Vamsi Garu.
Morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Tauji, good evening. How are you, sir?
Great, great, great. Thank you
So
for
it's,
having me.
anytime. It's a very distinguished panel. It's going to be just me from this side. So two guests, and then we'll continue the reading. And then as soon as you have a question or want to discuss, just shout because I'm not able to see the screen because I'm also seeing the book um, in the same display. Okay,
Okay.
just
If you
just
want me to read, I can also do that.
yeah. Please go ahead, sir. Let me stop at a logical point, and then you can start introduce Hume to us. We are in page number 154 of the PDF. I mean this.
Unfortunately, I do not have the reading material or the book that you may be reading. I need help with that.
Oh, okay. So you want me to share? Okay. I can do that too. Just give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Just give me a second here. Usually I don't share, but it's okay. Today we'll make an exception.
But I have no other means to read from.
Yeah. No. We'll by the next time we'll set you up. Don't worry. Are you able to see it?
Yeah,
Is it large enough for you?
yeah. The font size is okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me read a few paragraphs and then I'll hand it over to you, sir.
Okay.
Okay. You're right, of course, but Hume was a philosopher who thought in a different way. More than any other philosopher, he took the everyday world as his starting point. I even think Hume had a strong feeling for the way children, who essentially are the new citizens of the world, experienced life. So Sophie says, I'd better listen then. Okay. So Alberto is saying now, as an empiricist, Hume took it upon himself to clean up all the woolly concepts and thought constructs that these male philosophers had invented. There were piles of old wreckage, both written and spoken, from the Middle Ages and the rationalist philosophy of the 17th century. Hume proposed the return to our spontaneous experience of the world. No philosopher will ever be able to take us behind the daily experiences or give us rules of conduct that are different from those we get through reflections on everyday life, he said. Wonderful. I like it already. Sounds promising so far. Can you give any examples? Said Sophie. In the time of Hume, there was a widespread belief in angels, that is, human figures with wings. Have you ever seen such a creature, Sophie? No. But have you seen a human figure? Dumb question. You've also seen wings, of course, but not on a human figure. So, according to Hume, an angel is a complex idea. It consists of two different experiences, which are not in fact related, but which nevertheless are associated in man's imagination. In other words, it is a false idea which must be immediately rejected. We must tidy up all of our thoughts and ideas as well as our book collections in the same way. For, as Hume put it, if we take in our hands any volume, let us ask, does it contain any abstract reasoning concerning quantity or number? No. Does it contain any experimental reasoning concerning matter of fact and existence? No. Commit it then to the flames, he said, for it can contain nothing but sophistry and illusion. Okay, so absolutely, it's like absolute alcohol, 100%, 100, 200 proof alcohol, right? No mixings. You know, if they try to lead you along the path of imagination, then throw it away. Commit it to the flames, he said. So Sophie says that was drastic, but the world still exists, more fresh and sharply outlined than ever. Hume wanted to know how a child experiences the world. Didn't you say that many of the philosophers you have heard about lived in their own world and that you were more interested in the real world? Something like that, Sophie says. Hume could have said the same thing, but let us follow his train of thought more closely. Sophie says, I am with you. Hume begins by establishing that man has two different types of perceptions, namely impressions and ideas. By impressions, he means the immediate sensation of external reality. By ideas, he means the recollection of such impressions. Sir, Vamsigaru, please take over.
Okay, sir. Could you give me an example? If you burn yourself on hot oven, you get an intimate impression. Afterward, you can recollect that you burned yourself. That impression, insofar as it is recalled, in what Hume calls an idea. The difference is that an impression is stronger and livelier than your reflective memory of that impression. You could say that the sensation is the original and that the idea or reflection is only a pale imitation. It is the impression which is the direct cause of the idea stored in the mind. I follow you so far. Hume emphasizes further that both an impression and an idea can be either simple or complex. You remember we talked about an apple in connection with Loki. The direct experience of an apple is an example of a complex impression. Sorry to interrupt, but is this terribly important? Important? How can you ask? Even though philosophers may have been preoccupied with a number of pseudo problems, you must not give up now over the construction of an argument. Hume would probably agree that discretus, that is, essential to construct a thought process right from the ground. Okay,
Sir,
okay.
Descartes. Descartes.
Oh, it must be French, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Descartes. Okay,
he's French. Yeah, go ahead, please.
okay. Hume's point is that we sometimes form complex ideas for which there is no corresponding object in the physical world. We have already talked about angels. Previously, we referred to uh, Crocophants. Another example is Pegasus, winged horse. In all these cases, we have to admit that the mind has done a good job of cutting out and pasting together all on its own. Each element once sensed and entered the theater of mind in the form of a real impression. Nothing is ever actually invented by the mind. The mind puts things together and constructs false ideas. Yes, I see. That's important. All right, then. Hume wanted to investigate every single idea to see whether it was compounded in a way that does not correspond to reality. He asked, from which impression does this idea originate? First of all, he had he had to find out which single ideas went into the making of a complex idea. That would provide him with critical method by which to analyze our ideas and thus enable him to tidy up our thoughts and notions. Do you have an example or two? In Hume's day, there were a lot of people who had very clear ideas of heaven and now New Jerusalem. You remember how Descartes indicated that clear and distinct ideas in themselves would guarantee that they correspond to something that really existed. I said I was not especially forgetful. We soon realized that our idea of heaven is compounded of great many elements. Heaven is made up of the pearly gates, streets of gold, angels by the score, and so on and so forth. And still, we have not broken everything down into single elements for pearly gates, streets of gold, and angels. All are complex ideas in themselves. Only when we recognize that our idea of heaven consists of single notions such as the pearl gate, street, gold, white robed figure, and wings, we can ask ourselves if we ever really had any such simple impressions. We did, but we cut out and pasted all these simple impressions into one idea. That's just what we did. Because if there is something we humans do when we visualize, it's the use of the scissors and paste. But Hume emphasizes that all the elements we put together in our ideas must at some time have entered the mind in the form of simple impressions. A person who has never seen gold will never be able to visualize the streets of gold. He was very, he was very clever. Clever. What Descartes having a clear and distinct idea of God. Hume had an answer to that too. Let's say we imagine God as an infinitely intelligent, wise, and good being. We thus have a complex idea that consists of something infinitely intelligent, something infinitely wise, and something infinitely good. If we had never known intelligence, wisdom, and goodness, we would never have such an idea of God. Our idea of God might also be that he is a severe but just father. That is to say, a concept made up of severity, justice, and father. Many critiques of religion since Hume was claimed that such ideas of God can be associated with how we experienced our own father when we were little. It was said that the idea of a father led to the idea of a heavenly father. Maybe that's true, but I have never accepted that God had to be a man. Sometimes my mother calls God Godiva just to even things up. Anyway, Hume opposed all thoughts and ideas that could not be traced back to corresponding sense perceptions. He said we wanted to dismiss all this meaningless nonsense which long has dominated metaphysical thought and brought it into disrepute. But even in this everyday life, we use complex ideas without stopping to wonder whether they're all valid. For example, take the question of he or the ego. That was the very basis of Descartes' philosophy. It was the one clear and distinct perception that the whole of his philosophy was built on. I hope Hume did not try to deny that I am me. He would be talking off the talking off the top of his head. Sophie, if there is one thing that I want this course to teach you, it is not to jump to conclusions. Sorry, go on. No, why don't you use Hume's method and analyze what you perceive as your ego? First, I would have to figure out whether the ego is a simple or a complex idea. And that conclusion do you and what conclusion do you come to? I really have to admit that I feel complex. I'm very volatile, for instance, and I have the trouble making up my mind about things. And I can both like and dislike the same people. In other words, that ego concept is a complex idea. Okay, so now I guess I must figure out if I had a corresponding complex impression of my own ego. And I guess I have. I always had, actually. Does that worry you? I'm very changeable. I'm not the same today as I was when I was 4 years old. My temperament and how I see myself alter from one minute to the next. I can suddenly feel like I'm a new person. So the feeling of having an unalterable ego is a false perception. That perception of the ego is in reality a long uh, chain of simple impressions that you have never experienced simultaneously. It is nothing but a bundle or collection of different perceptions. What succeeded one another is an inconceivable rapidity and or in a perpetual flux and movement, as Hume expressed it. The mind is a kind of theater where several perceptions successively make their appearance, pass, repass, slide away, and mingle in an infinite variety of postures and situations. Hume pointed out that we have no underlying personal identity beneath or behind these perceptions and feelings which come and go. It's just like the images of a movie screen. They change so rapidly that we do not register the film is made up of single pictures. In reality, The pictures are not connected. The film is a collection of instants. I think I give in. Does that mean you give up the idea of having an unalterable ego? I guess it does. A moment ago, you believed the opposite. I should add that Hume's analysis of human mind and his rejection of the unalterable ego was put forward almost 2,500 years earlier on other side of the world. Who by? By Buddha. It's almost
Sir,
uncanny. So,
sir, we just pause and pay respects to one of the great souls that ever graced the planet.
okay,
Yeah. Please go ahead.
by Buddha. It's almost uncanny how similarly the two formulate their ideas. Buddha, he saw the life as as an unbroken succession of mental and physical processes which keep the people in a continual state of change. The infant is not the same as the adult. I'm not the same today as I was yesterday. There is nothing of which I can say, this is mine, said Buddha, and nothing of which I can say, this is me. Thus, there is no T or unalterable ego. Yes, that's typically Hume. In continuation of the idea of an unalterable ego, many rationalists had taken it for granted that man had an eternal soul. Is that a false perception too? According to Hume and Buddha, yes. Do you know what Buddha said to his followers just before he died? No, how could I? Decay is an inherent in all compound things. Work out your own salvation with diligence. Hume could have had the same thing, or Democritus. Am I reading it right? Democritus. For
Operators.
that, yeah, Democritus for that matter. We know all we we know at all events that Hume rejected any attempt to prove the immortality of the soul or the existence of God. Does that mean that he ruled out either one, but to prove religious faith by human reason was rationalistic claptrap? He thought. Hume was not a Christian, neither he was a confirmed atheist. He was what we call an agnostic. What's that? An agnostic is someone who holds the existence of God, or a God can neither be proved nor disproved. But Hume was dying. A friend asked him if he believed in life after death. He said to have answered, it's also possible that a knob of coal placed upon a fire will not burn. I see. The answer was typical of his unconditional open mindedness. He only accepted what he had perceived through his s- senses. He held all of his possibilities open. He rejected neither faith in Christianity nor faith in miracles, but both were matters of faith and not of knowledge or reason. You might say that Hume's philosophy, the final link between the faith and knowledge, was broken. You say that he didn't deny that miracles can happen. They might they did not mean that he believed in them, more the opposite. He made a point of the fact that people seem to have a powerful need of what we today would call supernatural happenings. The thing is that all the miracles you hear of have always happened in some far distant place or a long time ago or a long, long time ago. Actually, Hume only rejected miracles because he had never experienced any, but he had not experienced that they couldn't happen either. You all have you all have to explain that. You will have to explain that. According to Hume, a miracle is just the loss of nature, but it is meaningless to allege that we have experienced the loss of nature. We experience that a stone falls to the ground when we let go of it. And if it didn't fall, well, then we experienced that. Um, one, I would say that was a miracle. I would say that was a miracle or something supernatural. So you believe there are two natures, a natural and a supernatural. Aren't you on the way back to the relationship claptrap? Maybe. But I still think the stone will fall to the ground every time I let go. Why? Now you're being horrible. I'm not horrible, Sophie. I never, it's never wrong for a philosopher to ask the questions. We may be getting to the crux of Hume's philosophy. Tell me, how can you be so certain that the stone would always fall to the earth? I've seen it happen so many times that I'm absolutely certain. Hume would say that you have experienced a stone falling to the ground many times, but you have never experienced that it will always fall. It is usual to say that a stone falls to the ground because of the law of gravitation, but we have never experienced such a law. We have only experienced that things fall. Isn't that the same thing? Not completely. You say you believe the stone will fall to the ground because you have seen it happen so many times. That's exactly Hume's point. You're so used to the one thing following the other that you expect the same thing to happen every time you let go of a stone. This is why the concept of what we like to call the unbreakable laws of nature arises. Did he really mean that it was possible for a stone would not fall? He was probably just as conceived as you thought as you that it would fall every time he tried it. He pointed out that he did not experience why it happens. Now, we were far away from the babies and flowers again. No, on the contrary, you are welcome to take children of Hume's verification. What do you think would be more surprised if the stone floated above the ground for an hour or two? You or a 1 year old child? I guess I would. Why? Because I would know better than the child how unnatural it was. And why wouldn't the child think it was unnatural? Because it hasn't yet learned how nature behaves. Or perhaps nature hasn't yet become a habit. I see where you're coming from. He wanted people to sharpen their awareness. So now do the following exercise. Let's say you and a small child go to a magic show where things are made to float in the air. Which of you would have the most fun? I probably would. And why would that be? Because I would know how impossible it all is. So for the child, it's no fun to see laws of nature being defied before it has learned what they are. I guess that's right. And we're still at the crux of Hume's philosophy of experience. He would have added that the child has not yet become the slave of expectations habit. He's thus more open minded for you too. I wonder if the child is not able to the great philosopher, he comes utterly without preconceived opinions. And that, my dear Sophie, is the philosopher's most distinguishing virtue. The child perceives the world as it is without putting more into things than he experiences. Every
Sir,
time,
Vamsi,
yes, sir.
do you want to take a small break? You read 4 pages, so let me give you a bit of a break. I'll read one or two and then I'll give it back to you.
Okay, sir.
How
Thanks.
about
Thank
that?
you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
just take a quick break, have a glass of water or whatever. Thank you, sir. Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. So essentially, here what they're saying is the philosopher is like a child because they're not supposed to have any preconceived notions or opinions about the workings of nature, which essentially is nothing but an experience that is stored in our memory that we keep projecting or that we keep expecting to experience again and again. Okay. Every time I feel prejudice, I get a bad feeling. Okay. When Hume discusses the force of habit, he concentrates on the law of causation. This law establishes that everything that happens must have a cause. Hume used two billiard balls for his example. If you roll a black billiard ball against a white one that is at rest, what will the white one do? If the black ball hits the white one will start to move, said Sophie. I see. And why will it do that? Because it was hit by the black one. So we usually say that the impact of the black ball is the cause of the white ball starting to move. But remember now, we can only talk of what we have actually experienced. I have actually experienced it lots of times. Joanna has a pool table in her basement, said Sophie. Hume would say the only thing you have experienced is that the white ball begins to roll across the table. You have not experienced the actual cause of it beginning to roll. You have experienced that one event comes after another, but you have not experienced that the other event happens because of the first one, right? This is what correlation and causality kind of thing. There are so many scientific concepts that are there to unpack in this Hume's philosophy. It is quite fascinating, right? And more importantly, there is a school of thought in India also, philosophical school of thought called Vaiseshika, right? That's exactly similar to this, where they break everything down into its elemental form, basically. So, isn't that splitting hairs? Sophie says. No, it's very central. Hume emphasized that the expectation of one thing following another does not lie in the things themselves, but in our mind. So, the mind is building the bridge of causation, and that is what is causing the world to come into existence. The world of causality, basically, right? There is a term for this also. Uh, it will come to me. There's an Indian term for it. It is it, it's I'm missing it right now, but anyway, an expectation, as we have seen, is associated with habit, and like we know from probability theory, most expectation can be less than zero depending on the event. So the likelihood that a ball will float away and gravity will disappear is a likelihood. It is just that we know that right now it is so small that we don't take it into our reality, take it into consideration. When we speak of the laws of nature or of cause and effect, we're actually speaking of what we expect rather than what is reasonable. The laws of nature are neither reasonable nor unreasonable. They simply are. What this paragraph should be plated in gold, basically. I got. The laws of nature are neither reasonable nor unreasonable. They simply are. The expectation that the white ball will move when it is struck by the black billiard ball is therefore not innate. We are not born with a set of expectations as to what the world is like or how things in the world behave. The world is like it is, and it's something that we get to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Sophie says, I'm beginning to feel as if we are getting off the, off the track again. Not if your expectations cause you to jump to conclusions. Hume did not deny the existence of unbreakable natural laws, but he held that because we are not in a position to experience the natural laws themselves, we can easily come to the wrong conclusions. Absolutely, because you cannot experience a law. You can only experience the causes of it and the effects of it. Like what, for example? Well, because I've seen a whole herd of black horses doesn't mean that all horses are black. No, of course not. And although I've seen nothing but black crows in my life, it does not mean that there's no such thing as a white crow. Both for a philosopher and for a scientist, it can become important not to reject the possibility of finding a white crow, right? That is where the agnosticism comes into picture. You cannot reject the possibility of something. You might almost say that hunting for a white crow is science's principal task. Yes, I see. In the question of cause and effect, there can be many people who imagine that lightning is the cause of thunder because thunder comes after lightning. The example is really not so different from the one with the billiard balls. But is lightning the cause of thunder? Absolutely not. We know they happen together. Not really, because they both happen at the same time. Sophie is smart, right? Both thunder and lightning are due to an electric discharge. So in
So this
reality,
reminds me of
yeah,
the mathematics class I attended in eighth grade or something when they were introducing probability in mathematics.
yes,
One thing the
absolutely,
math teacher said, the probability is never zero, never zero.
yeah. Usually not, right? There are some cases, but extreme cases, but wonderful. See, you can see how when a philosopher starts looking at the world in the right way, there are many things that sort of come out of it. They are byproducts of that viewpoint of the world, basically. You know,
Yeah. Yes.
so that is why they used to call it a PhD, not in this day and age, but it's Doctor of Philosophy, because eventually it all converges to how we observe nature, right? And when you take science and you keep on studying it more and more, it has to end up in this, which is essentially the starting point of all science, which is a viewpoint of how you look at reality, which is nothing but philosophy. So in reality, a third factor causes them both, right? The electric discharge. An empiricist of our own century, Bertrand Russell, has provided a more grotesque example. A chicken which experiences every day that it gets fed, when the farmer's wife comes over to the chicken run, will finally come to the conclusion that there is a causal link between the approach of the farmer's wife and feed being put into its bowl. But one day the chicken doesn't get its food. No, one day the farmer's wife comes over and wrings the chicken's neck. Yuck, how disgusting. Well, that's how you get your food, Sophie. The fact that one thing follows another thus does not necessarily mean that there is a causal link, right? So, correlation, causation. One of the, or sequence, for example, right? Just because A before B doesn't mean B because of A, basically. One of the main concerns of philosophy is to warn people against jumping to conclusions. It can, in fact, lead to many different forms of superstition. Sophie says, how come? You see a black cat across the street. Later that day, you will fall and break your arm. But that does not mean that there is any causal link between the two incidents. In science, it is especially important not to jump to conclusions. For instance, the fact that a lot of people get well after taking a particular drug does not mean it was the drug that cured them. That's why it's important to have a large control group of patients who think they are also being given the same medicine, but who are in fact only being given flour and water, aka placebo, basically. If these patients also get well, there has to be a third factor, such as the belief that the medicine works and has cured them. I think I'm beginning to see the empiricism, what empiricism is basically, right? So the placebo effect is you think you are being given a medicine and you get better because the belief that you are being given a medicine makes it better. So you'll have to discount the belief, right? So that whatever the percentage of the effect that the medicine itself has to be isolated. So there's a control group and there is a group that is given the medicine or vice versa. I don't know what the terminology is, but there are two groups always, right? It's called double blind experiment, basically.
Right.
So
One question here, okay, would it be apt to bring in the concept of manifestation? Like you thought you got medicine, but really you did not, but yet you got better.
correct. That is exactly the placebo effect, basically.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So hang on one second. Oh, Dawji is stuck in the backstage. Hang on. Sorry, sir. I'm not able to see the screen, Dawji. So uh, you'll
Oh
have to
my
pardon
God.
my
I was
ignorance. I'm so
shouting.
sorry. Sorry. Now I'll keep quiet. Please go ahead. Talk, please.
No, no, I was just enjoying, like,
Okay.
not
So this
not
is
being in the backstage, but the reading part I was just enjoying.
yeah. I can see why you like this chapter a lot because there are so many ideas packed into Hume. Unbelievable, basically, right?
Yeah, because the most enjoyable part is because we are raised in a society where cause and effect is everything. Our every rule is done by cause and effect. That
Correct.
there is this happened, then this is the cause. Our all philosophy of, if you see Indian philosophy, there is an innate thing called karma siddhant. You know?
Correct.
So if somebody says that there is no cause and effect, then you need to be interested in him for his
Correct.
philosophy.
Correct.
Definitely, he is saying something that can shook your belief in the
Yeah.
most thing that you were not able to comprehend before that.
Correct.
So
Correct.
like
And exactly
and
that's
and
why
for
yeah. even Jostein, that's why says he's probably the last straw that broke the
Yeah,
link between faith and knowledge.
yeah. Because from Socrates to Crows, like the philosopher before this, what was his name? Crohn's? No, before Hume.
Before
In this
him,
book, we
is it Locke? Is it
yeah, yeah, that one. So they all believed in somewhat same, like little bit different, but this guy, he was like totally left side. Everybody
correct?
was going right. He was like, no, 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 no. I need to go left. So, so that's why when I talk about him now, I always say he. So if anything, Hume teaches us that certainty is an illusion, and that's not the weakness. It's the beginning of real philosophy.
It's the beginning of reality. Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And
Yeah.
by the way, sorry, I didn't introduce you guys. So the person who was reading before, Davji, he's
Mm,
a regular guest in Manavahini also. His name is Vamsi Garu. He's a very experienced
mm.
professional here. He lives in the US, been here for more than 20 years. IT professional. Sir,
Yeah,
meet
I can
Davji. His
understand that by his English. I
accent, huh?
already knew
So,
about. Yeah,
Hello, sir.
perfect
Namaskar.
accent, man. Perfect,
right.
perfect.
So Davji
Jo
is,
hai wo hai.
right.
It was, Vishwa. What I was thinking, I was
Uh,
thinking, today is the day that we can announce that we are going premium. You need to pay us because this guy is reading now. This is a premium version, so you need to pay
But
now.
I'll be humble and say that I have never looked at this before. I only started to join since a couple of weeks only.
hmm,
But uh,
Hmm.
so where if I were to review my own reading without any preparation or anything, I was missing out on a lot of intonations in the book.
that's okay. Don't worry about all that.
Hmm.
Sorry, everything will come. Practice,
No, no.
Practice
practice,
that.
everything comes. Hmm,
Correct.
Practice makes a man perfect.
Better.
correct.
I don't know about
Yeah.
perfect, but better.
Fair enough, right? And Daoji
Fair enough, yes.
is a regular participant in this channel. He's studying to become a
Yeah.
teacher, right? He lives in the middle part of India. He's from MP, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and he doesn't speak Telugu, so we speak to him
You know,
either in
I
Hindi
want
or
to
in
say,
English.
I, wa- I I want to say something.
Yeah, yeah.
Hume doubt about causation, na?
Uh,
So Hume doubt about causation. But if I fail in the exam, trust me, the cause is definitely YouTube.
exactly. You already know that.
Super.
Uh,
Definitely YouTube. This
yeah,
YouTube and Instagram, they are the cause.
yeah. So
But glad to
anyway,
have
you
you,
may
sir,
saying,
because I'm oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say I never met anybody from Madhya Pradesh. I worked with
Okay.
people from UP,
Oh,
Kolkata, Bihar, yeah, Maharashtra, and everything. But Madhya Pradesh,
hmm.
this is my first opportunity.
Yeah, we are premium people, na? Unless you
Y-
speak like this, I would not have talked to you.
You are in the middle of the locus. Madhya Pradesh, the meaning is you are at 0 point, right?
Right,
So you are the middle. You are you are the
Yeah.
premium, not I.
Hmm.
right, right.
No, no, but
So
your English is really premium.
yeah, yeah, exactly. He's got the
So
accent. No?
sometimes I just mimic that, you know. I try to mimic that, but it doesn't work. It's always false and thought, It's always
Right.
false. It sounds like
So
छोटा बच्चा try कर रहा है.
yeah. So the funny part is this, right? What Hume, the main difference it seems is that Hume never accepted even the existence of the soul, which some of the previous philosophers took for granted, right? Which broke down everything,
Yep.
starting from the entire faith
Yeah.
belief. Everything is gone at that.
Yeah. And one more thing. I participated in a debate where I was arguing for Hume, and Rajesh, my friend, is like defending, like not defending. What we say? Opposite.
Opposite, opposing.
Yeah. So in the debate, the debate was going fine. Then I said to him, and after that he said, "You won." The last part I said. See, I said the funny part is if you disagree with me, Hume would say that's not the reason speaking. It's just your passion of arguing. So
Correct.
technically, I already won. So then he said, "Okay, you won," and the
Right,
debate ends.
right, exactly. There's no need. He already accepted. Then you prove that he actually lost. Then it's done.
Yeah,
Indeed.
in that debate now, he was very like getting very aggressive. He was not in that way, in a good way.
Uh,
Okay, so I can see his
right.
passion, and when I saw his passion, and I already knew, everybody, all my friends are seeing his aggression. Then I put this point, and then he was like, "Yeah, true." So I was like, "Okay, I won." Then I eat six patties
There you go. Exactly. That's the
with his
problem.
money.
Yeah, that's a problem. Anyway, you're still too
I don't
young,
think so.
so
That's
you
a
can eat
problem.
whatever you want. Yeah, exactly. You're young, so you can eat whatever you want. Don't worry about it. Okay, so let's finish this.
Yeah,
There are only two more pages, I think, right? And then we'll close the session. I have
yeah,
a
that's
hard
yeah,
stop
yeah, yeah,
almost. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Good. No, but this is a wonderful discussion. Thank you, Tausi. Thanks, Sigaru as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Hume also rebelled against rationalist thought in the area of ethics. The rationalists had always held the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. Held that the ability to distinguish between right and wrong is inherent in human reason. We have all come across this idea of the so-called natural right in many philosophy, first from Socrates to Locke. But according to Hume, it is not reason that determines what we say and do. So Sophie says, what is it then? It is our sentiments. If you decide to help someone in need, you do so because of your feelings, not your reason. What if I can't be bothered to help? Well, that too would be a matter of feelings. It's neither reasonable nor unreasonable not to help someone in need, but it could be unkind. But there must be a limit somewhere. Everyone knows it's wrong to kill. According to Hume, everybody has a feeling for other people's welfare. So we all have the capacity for compassion, but it has nothing to do with reason. I don't know if I agree, says Sophie. It's not always so unwise to get rid of another person, Sophie. If you wish to achieve something or other, it can actually be quite a good idea. Okay, interesting argument here. Hey, wait a minute. I protest, says Sophie. Maybe you can try and explain why one shouldn't kill a troublesome person. That person wants to live too, therefore you ought not to kill them. Was that a logical reason? I don't know, says Sophie. What you did was to draw a conclusion from a descriptive sentence. That person wants to live too, to what we call to to what we call a normative sentence. Therefore, you ought not to kill them. From the point of view of reason, this is nonsense. You might just as well say there are lots of people who cheat on their taxes. Therefore, I ought to cheat on my taxes too. Hume said if you can never draw conclusions from said you can never draw conclusion from his sentences to odd sentences. Nevertheless, it is exceedingly common, not least in newspaper articles, political party programs, and speeches. Would you like some examples? Please. So Sophie is a little confused right now. So let's see. More and more people want to travel by air.
Hey, Vishwa.
Therefore, more. Go ahead, please.
No, explain me what does it mean? Hume said you can never draw conclusion from is sentence to ought sentences.
Yeah. So the examples are coming, but what essentially he's saying is X is like X is there's an observation, right? You know, so everybody wants to drive fast. Okay, um, that is the
Hmm.
East sentence. Therefore, you ought to have roads that will allow
Yes.
people to drive fast, right? That may not be true
Hmm.
just because somebody wants to, because want is not necessarily something that is rational, right? It is a feeling basically, right?
Hmm.
You have to break it down into, yeah, what
Hmm.
its constituents are the same thing, right? The impression versus the idea and all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff, basically. So more and more
Okay.
people want to travel by air. Therefore, more airports are to be built. Do you think this conclusion holds up? So the ease is observed or is expressed. Some people are saying we want to travel by air. So there ought to be, right? So that is the ease sentence. The ought sentence is we need to build more airports. There ought to be more airports, basically. No, it's nonsense. We have to think of the environment. I think we ought to be more, we ought to build more railroads instead. Or they say The development of new oil fields will raise the population's living standards by 10%. Therefore, we ought to develop new oil fields as rapidly as possible. So Sophie is an environmentalist, right? Almost like an idealist. So we know that she doesn't like this idea. Definitely not. We have to think of the environment again. And anyway, the standard of living in Norway is high enough. Okay, touche, got it. We give it to Sophie. Yes, it is. Sometimes it is said that this law has been passed by the Senate, therefore, all citizens in this country ought to abide by it. But frequently, it goes against people's deepest convictions to divide by such conventions. Yes, I understand that, says Sophie. So we have established that we cannot use reason as a yardstick for how we ought to act. Acting responsibly is not a matter of strengthening our reason, but of deepening our feelings for the welfare of others. It is not contrary to reason to prefer the destruction of the whole world to the scratching of my finger, said Hume. That's a hair raising assertion. It's maybe even more hair raising if you shuffle the cards. You know that the Nazis murdered millions of Jews in the Holocaust. Would you say that there was something wrong with the Nazis' reason, or would you say there was something wrong with their emotional life? There was definitely something wrong with their feelings. Many of them were exceedingly clear headed. It is not unusual to find ice cold calculation behind the most callous decisions, callous being most insensitive, most um, uh, what do you call brazen decisions. Many of the Nazis were convicted after the war, but they were not convicted for being unreasonable. They were convicted for being gruesome murderers. See the distinction, right? You have to apply logic even to the most heinous crime to understand what is the motivation, right? Or there is a reason. The reason might be reasonable, but the act might be unreasonable, right? Either way, you're still criminal. It can happen that people who are not of sound mind would be acquitted of their crimes. We say that they were not accountable for their actions. Nobody has ever been acquitted of a crime they committed for being unfeeling. I should hope not. That means if you are unfeeling, if you are brazen, if you are callous, then you will be convicted. You will not be acquitted. But if your mind is not right, right, that's why the insanity, pleading insanity, right, where you are not able to reason and you commit something heinous, then you may be acquitted. Acquitted means let go, let free, free to go. Okay, I should hope not, says Sophie. But we need not stick to the most grotesque examples. If a flood disaster renders millions of people homeless, it is our feelings that determine whether we come to their aid. If we are callous, that means brazen, indifferent, and leaving the whole thing to cold reason, we might think it was actually quite in order that millions of people die in a world that is threatened by overpopulation. I've heard this argument also, by the way. It makes me mad that you can even think that, said Sophie. And notice it's not your reason that gets mad. So finally, Sophie got it. Okay, I got it. All right. With that, one of the most
Yeah.
enlightening chapters in the book, Hume, comes to an end. Go ahead, sir.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that our writer also used my trick.
exactly. See, you forgot the basics, Saji. It's always there. That's when we make mistakes or
Yeah.
something. It's already there. It's there, staring in your face.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shadow Garu,
Maybe
Namaskar.
my idea came from here.
Hmm. Exactly. It was already there in your, what do they call it? Impression. There was an impression
Yeah.
which came to the fore basically. You just forgot the source. That's all.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, all right. So wonderful conversation, wonderful discussion. Unfortunately, I'll have to cut it short for this session, but I can guarantee you that next week we are going to have another session and even later also a week after that.
Whenever I am free, you
Yeah.
always say this time, hurry, hurry, this time, hurry, hurry. Very bad.
No, no, I'm so sorry, but there is another session that Largar is having. But you know what? Next time when you are free, just give me a message. So that way I'll make sure that I'll extend the session. Raji. Okay?
No.
Done.
So do you have the book also
Yeah,
available for me to,
yeah,
look
it's
at
there in the PDF, sir. I'll
beforehand?
give you a link. Yeah, yeah. It's just Sophie's World by Jostein Gaarder, Joestin. I think Jostein Gaarder. She's a Norwegian, I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a fairly old book. It's available in PDF everywhere.
And there is only
yeah.
one version,
I,
right?
There's only one version. Yeah, go ahead, Tauji.
yeah. No, I was saying he, I didn't. I don't know where he lives in New York, but otherwise I would have sent it the real book with his
No,
money.
no, it's okay.
Like not my.
And digital is okay.
I will ask.
Digitally is best.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but it's a great book. That's why I recommended this book because
yeah, yeah,
it's
Okay.
just it just gets keep getting better and better and better.
yeah. So I'm already getting
And
signals that I need to
I the most.
go ahead, Tauji.
Yeah,
Finish
yeah.
your sentence.
But only just 1 minute. I was just saying that its ending is great. That's why I recommended this book.
What
Let
ending? We are unable to go past the middle also fast because it is so fascinating.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. But
Yeah. It
when
could
we reach at the end now, then you will understand why I was eager to go to the end.
go to the end.
Then you will
There'll
understand
be a big flip. Yeah. But
Oh, you
anyway,
already read
today,
the book once. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah, he has read it multiple
because
times. I guess he's a student of
this is a philosophy book in practical.
yeah,
This is a book of philosophy in practical. I would say.
yeah. And most importantly, today we also got a glimpse of Buddha, right? So very grateful to have
Yeah,
thought of him.
yeah,
You know,
and
I disagree 100% with his
yeah, and today
philosophy.
we also
But
got the premium version.
yeah, yeah, exactly, the
We also
premium
got the
version,
premium version, na?
of course. So
Yeah.
come Buddha, comes the
I think
premium.
I will say, Vishwagaru, you need to resign. Let's give the
Give it to Vamsi Garu.
CEO position to Hiray. Yeah,
Vamsi
Arey,
will
he
take
is
nahi,
it.
nahi, nahi.
better at reading.
Are you saying I'm the premium? I am probably not premium. I'm probably the intern.
No, no, no. It's all good. It's all good. We are all learning.
But
So
when
anyway,
intern is great in
Yeah.
boss, then boss need to leave.
Thank
correct.
you for your compliments. Thank you for your
No,
compliments.
he becomes the CEO. I become the chairman.
The honorary chairman of the
Yeah,
founding
yeah, yeah.
father.
And I will be the peon in the office because I don't know. I am not at good reading and not even in anything.
No, no, it's all good. It's all good.
It's
All
okay.
right.
It's okay.
So with that, thanks, Davji. Thanks, Vamsi
Thank
Garu.
you. Thank you.
Thanks to all the
Thank you.
participants.
Nice to meet you,
Dr.
Daji.
Sai Garu, I'm coming. I'm on my way.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
and yeah, enjoy
Bye.
these sessions. Like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.